I don't know how many of you believe in angels in general, or like spirit guides, people who are in the spiritual world looking out for you, guiding you, supporting you, giving you signs, giving you messages. Whoa. Did you see that? Hello and welcome to Vlogmas Day 9. I'm going to be doing a little Christmas time, Yule time, whatever you want to call it, spread that I thought would be fun for any of you guys that have a deck of tarot cards that maybe you need to get into the habit of using a bit more. I was thinking of a fun way to kind of celebrate Christmas, as I know like typically witches don't celebrate Christmas, but you know me, I'm big on my holidays. I just love a time to celebrate and be happy and decorate and just have a jolly old time. So I wanted to try and like infuse the two together and come up with a cool themed tarot spread, because if you don't follow my tarot Facebook page, you won't know that I'm always sharing like little fun spreads I've made. I love creating my own. A tarot spread is basically, if you didn't know, a certain layout of cards that you can use. So for example, a very basic one will just be past, present, future. That's a very basic spread. So I like making my own themed ones. Like I did one for Halloween, I did one for Valentine's, I believe. It's fun to me. So I made one for Christmas. I based it around the concept of a Christmas tree, and it's gonna go a little something like this. So if any of you have a deck literally that you can access right now, go grab it and go do this with me. I feel like it'll be fun. And even if you don't have access to a deck, see this message today as your message, because I'm going to be doing a collective reading for everybody watching this video using the Christmas tree tarot spread right now. So you can listen to me right now as if it is your own, although it will be kind of generic because I'm not reading for anyone specifically, but you can take the messages that resonate with you for this video and leave the rest for whoever it does. Giving the deck a good old thump. Doesn't matter how you want to shuffle, doesn't matter if you want to throw the cards in the air and pick them up again, or if you want to pick the cards out one by one like this, that's cool as well. Or you might split the deck, take one pile and then lay out the cards from the top of that pile. It doesn't matter how you choose to do it, whatever feels comfy for you. I've been using jumpers. I don't hand select the cards anymore. I just go with whatever flies out the deck, because I just feel like those cards they're more accurate, and I feel as though they're almost like shouting at me to be read, so I'm like, okay. This is a 7 card spread. 2 cards have fallen out. The one that fell first goes at number 1, which is called the root. As it's the root of the tree, it represents the baseline, like the bottom line of the rest of the cards. The, I guess, most prominent part of 2020 for you, the past year for you. Number 2 will be the second card that fell out, and that card represents growth. And then if you see the growth as like what comes out on top of that, it's sort of like where that went, what developed, I guess, mostly throughout the year. Next cards 3 and 4 will represent the gifts around the tree. That one's just turned around a bit early, but that's okay. We'll put 3 there. And whoa, eager beaver, 4 here. The next card that came out is number 5 up here on the top left, and these next 2, 5 and 6, are going to represent people, environment. It's the energy of people around the Christmas tree, so who I suppose you are keeping close at this time of year, relationships that you've made in the year which are of most importance to you. I kind of wanted 2 cards to symbolize who you should have close and keep close, even if that's in the mind this Christmas, because I know we're not allowed to physically be around a lot of people this year, but it's more like what energy, like what people around the tree we want to keep. So we've got 1 more for the people, the environment, and 7 will be after that, which is my favorite, and I'll tell you why when we get there. People, card number 6 done. And last but not least, card number 7 is my favorite because it represents the topper of the tree, the start of the tree, which I wanted to symbolize guidance and advice, any support. After all, it is the star of guidance, but also I can never do tarot readings without at least one advice card. Like, I just see readings as so pointless if I can't come away with like some solid piece of information to like think about or to work on. Cool. You should have something that looks a little like this. I mean, it's as close to a Christmas tree as you're going to create with a deck of tarot cards. I think he's cute. So going from 1 to 2 to 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, you're going to turn them all over individually, reflect on the cards, look at what's popping out to you the most, colors, images, people, sounds, I don't know, smells. Some people pick up on different things when they read tarot. Connect them to what each position is supposed to represent. And you don't have to rush, like you can literally take all day if you want, take your time reading each one, journaling it, you can write it down. It's entirely up to you, but we're going to do these ones together as a message from myself to you guys. We're going to start off with the root card. You literally cannot make this up. This is the Hermit. Definitely not a lot of intentions of any kind of outrageous decisions or impulsive decisions. Anything that's like filled with high energy and massive amounts of excitement. And obviously we can all roll our eyes and say that this year has not been one of those kinds of years at all. Like, we've all been literally doing what the Hermit card is all about, which is stepping into our shadow selves in some respect. Like, I was about to say our safe places then, but it doesn't even necessarily have to be that, because we're being told to isolate, and some of us are isolating in places which we wouldn't necessarily say are like the best for us. It's more like a forced period of reflecting, and sometimes when that's pushed upon us, it might be quite intrusive, and like we're forced to maybe think about things that we would have otherwise glossed over or distracted ourselves from. So the root of this tree tells me that the rest of the cards, if it starts with a Hermit, is going to be very self-reflective, listening to our own voices rather than other people, be on our own, hear our own thoughts. You know, you're keeping yourselves inside for long periods of time. This year has been a year of like peace, relaxing, meditation. Like, a lot of people, I would also say, would maybe have taken up meditation as like a new hobby, like something you want to try out, maybe even getting a bit better on your spiritual practices. I know that I have very much this year, and that might be something that being isolated has helped you do. So if that was like the initial seeds of intention, where did that growth take us? This is really nice. It's almost as though what came out of a lot of forced, and I keep saying the word forced because I know the circumstances for a lot of people, but even, you know, isolation that you've put on yourself has been done to get back in touch, or to get in touch with the more kind of softer side of yourself, like the loving side of yourself, whether that is self-love and like the nurturing, motherly side of you. Because the Queen of Cups, to come out of that by the end of the year, you know, she's found herself still isolated. Like, I do still see this as quite a self-empowering card. There's not any other individuals in it, but it's more loving. I hear like self-acceptance, like she's brought herself to an empty environment so she can come to terms with a few things that she needs to. And also, when it does come to other people, we can't deny, like the Queen of Cups, she's really good at mothering people, caring for people. So I know that we could say isolation and quarantine has like brought some bad things out of a lot of people, but the majority, it's made people stick their neck out a little bit more in terms of like making sure there's help for those who need it, you know, asking friends how they are when it comes to their mental health. With like surrounding Hermit energy, I would say that she offers love from afar. As the year's gone on, you've used the kind of wisdom and the information you've collected along the way to get better at controlling emotions through your own discipline. Because the Hermit card sets those intentions of trying to make sure that they look after themselves, they know what they're doing, they don't get too like impulsive, or making sure he pauses to learn. He wants to understand how to cope in this situation as best as he possibly can. 3 and 4 are to represent gifts around the tree, at the bottom of the tree. I kept these 2 cards at the bottom on purpose, but I wanted 2 cards to let us reflect over the things that we should be grateful for, our blessings, whether that's people, things, anything that we should remember to keep gratitude for, because it's very easy to just take things for granted. So Eight of Cups is also about self-discovery. This is finding what your purpose is, realizing your direction, where it is you want to go. Like this big pit, this is such an interesting combination of cards. The Hanged Man goes very well with the Hermit, because the Hermit is a time to pause and reflect and focus in on yourself. It's also a spiritual card, a bit like the Hanged Man. The Hanged Man is a delay in the process. It's pausing, and to me that's saying using that time wisely and utilizing that to do as much self-discovering as possible, like way more than you would have had the opportunity to do if we were to carry on, if we had a normal 2020, right? There will be some of you who might have struggled with this and you felt as though you weren't able to maybe find the things that were missing, but for a huge chunk of you, I feel you use that time to realize what that missing piece in your life was. I know that sounds cliche, but you've got to look at the way the cups are laid out. You know, there's one missing there quite obviously, and that person is going off to search for that missing cup, because they know from this time, this reflection, this pause, this delay, they've been able to do that. And in a way, it's a delay that may have been a blessing in disguise, because in a sense that was your gift. It was your opportunity to maybe relax a bit more than you would have otherwise, and also taking a breather. If there's anything at all that you felt more connected to when it comes to like more natural things, it doesn't have to be necessarily spiritual, but you might have been drawn towards maybe just being a bit more conscious in general. I feel like maybe even a few of you might have taken up hiking, walking, like got a bit more exercise than you would have if you were doing the normal day-to-day grind, because I feel as though this is a very physical activity she's taken part in. Like she's got her hiking boots on and her stick, and she's ready to go on a big old adventure. We can easily get back off track when we go back to the daily grind of like the man-made world, I suppose, like back to work, like public transport routines, and not getting into nature again, and not going on walks, and not feeling connected to lakes, rivers, oceans, I don't know, hills, mountains, whatever it is that you got so bored that you decided to explore a bit more. As things in 2020 were stripped back, it made us appreciate the more like simple things, I feel like. To me, these cards are so mental health associated too. There's so much stuff to do with the mind that has been developed on and has grown throughout this year. Let's do people for 5 and 6. This is environment cards. Whoa, these are really, so we've got the 9 of Wands and the Page of Swords. These are really protective, defensive cards. They're almost borderline paranoia cards. Kind of worry and defensiveness around people right now, whether that's for each other's health, because everyone's just so worried about their family and other people's actions as well, because, you know, a lot of people are doing things that maybe their family members don't agree with when it comes to health and the pandemic, and obviously they want people they love to be safe. And although you could initially look at that and think of it as a bad thing, we could also say like people care. Like people are showing their love more than ever because they're trying to protect one another. Like the 9 of Wands is more, you know, she's putting up her barrier, her kind of wall of defense, her shield in a sense. See it as like wearing a mask or like washing hands, things like that. It's like I'm keeping myself covered. And then the Page of Swords is more about like I'm keeping myself away physically. It's like I've got my sword up, if you come near I will. That to me says once again more isolation. People aren't like connecting. There's not been a lot of connection in this year. It's been a bit standoffish, which makes a lot of sense. But also that tells me that all of the drama that could have come up throughout this year from family, from friends, if there's certain bickers and fights, particularly online, because Page of Swords is always about bickers and disagreements and chats online, which weren't, you know, the nicest, weren't dealt with in the most mature way, because people are just worried, they're paranoid, they're stressed, there's a lot of things to think about, they're very fiery, they have been very fiery. So if there's any kind of disagreements that you've had with people around you which you wouldn't have expected to fall out with last Christmas, for example, remember what their intentions were. Even if it's hard to be like, why would somebody, you know, get angry at me if they love me? I just feel like sometimes you have to think about the intentions over maybe the way it came across, and I get that can be hard. Even if you've got friends who maybe didn't see you enough as you'd like to see them, even if it was for like a social distant chat or whatever, people are just struggling with deciding on what's the best thing to do, so don't get offended by things. From you as well, you might just feel so like disconnected from humans, from environment. It's almost like these cards are saying, you know, people, you've got 2 cards for environment in a year like 2020, like who the hell's going to be around the tree this year then? But we can show forms of love and celebration in other ways. We don't have to be physically there. So pretty lonely cards, I'm not gonna lie. I feel like the majority of you are just feeling really like disconnected, lonely, isolated, obviously. It's a bit sad really. What a shitty year it's been. Let's move on to guidance, advice. The star on top of the tree, the lovely Temperance. How lovely is that? Oh my god, she's a freaking angel and she's on the topper position. But how nice is that? We literally have an angel on the tree. That's the most hilarious thing. But this is, in general, can be, you know, spiritual guidance. I don't know how many of you believe in angels in general, or like spirit guides, people who are in the spiritual world looking out for you, guiding you, supporting you, giving you signs, giving you messages. Whoa. Did you see that? Oh, I hope the camera caught that. That was so weird. Okay, I just said look out for signs, and my candle just blew out right in my face. Oh my god, I'm out of the zone now. Let's get back in. It's almost like they are there trying to give you back a sense of moderation again, because things have felt very tipped on one side for such a long time. The Temperance comes along and balances out the situation again to make sense from a place that's level-headed. It's like 50% earth and 50% water. Like she steps in when things just need to be like this again, smoother, and she's a bit of a like counselor as well. Like I said earlier, these cards do seem a lot about mental health, so a lot of you might be contemplating actual counselling next year. That might be something that you're tempted to get into, whether that's about the actual impact from the year itself that you've had, or the fact that you've used this year to really think about like your life as a whole and things that you need to work on mentally. You know, there's loads of different types of counselling. You can have group counselling, doesn't have to be one-to-one. It doesn't have to be like the good old traditional like sit on a chair therapy. It's like, it can be art therapy. In a way, I kind of see this as a bit of a sign, in a sense. She's almost like a friendly hand on your shoulder being like, look, it's gonna be okay. It's like a lucky charm. It's like things will get better, like things will be balanced again, connections will come again, and maybe the kinks and the messy parts along the way are gonna be ironed out again, and it just takes time and patience. Oh my god, Temperance, she's also about patience. It's almost like saying, it's like a confirmation message of, you know, the percentage you've got on the loading bar of patience right now. She's like saying, look, we're on like 80% now. I'm doing my bit, I'm stepping in, I'm doing what I can. Like, it will come. As long as you're not doing anything impulsive at this time, or you yourself aren't doing very well in matters of over self-indulging or excessive eating or excessive drinking, even drugs, or too much time on the internet, or any parts in your life that maybe you're putting too much energy into, give space, time, energy for other things. Like, don't, you know, throw too much of yourself into one thing. But once again, the Temperance, she's also a very spiritual card. So I don't know, I'd like to know whether you have found 2020 to be a year that you've felt more kind of connected to that side of yourself, whether you've been discovering some practices that you want to take part in, or you've been reading spiritual books, or just looking, like researching things up in general to do with that, because these cards just feel like, even meditation, if you want to call that spiritual, that might be something that a lot of people have thrown themselves into this year. Or being mindful, like mindfulness in general, I definitely can relate to that. Let me know in the comments if this resonated with you, which parts did in particular, which parts didn't, and if you would like me to do another collective reading similar to this. I can do a one-to-one if you would like, of the exact same spread on my Facebook page. If anyone's interested in that, you can pop me a message. But yes, I'm on social media such as Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. If you liked this kind of video, give it a thumbs up. I'm on Patreon and TikTok if you want to follow me on either of those. And that is all. Thank you very much for watching, guys. I will see you for tomorrow's video, which will be, I believe, a follow me around vlog.